as AI becomes more and more powerful, faster, we will all become more productive. But our mind and nervous system have a physical limit onto how much data it can ingest and make sense of it. So even though most of the calculations and the decisions are done by AI, our nervous system needs to keep up. And what we are seeing around the world right now, as things are getting faster, our nervous systems are breaking down, and that shows up in anxiety, stress, disease, wars, all of that.
To kind of get started for our listeners, you have a really interesting background in terms of where you came from, what the life conditions were like that made you who you are. I mean, you leverage those struggles in such an amazing way. Could you give our listeners just sort of a feel for how you grew up and what that was like?
Sure. Yeah. So I grew up in India in a small town. And back then, India was quite a developing country. In many ways, it is still a developing country, but it has come quite far. Back then, in that town, like there were not a lot of opportunities for jobs, not even a higher education institution. And for me, it was like almost claustrophobic, trying to figure out what to do with my life. And I was working in a factory 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. And for through some a stroke of luck, I found my way into computers and programming and software. And I just fell in love with it. I was extremely introverted back then. So it came naturally that, the machines don't talk back, and I don't have to interact with humans. So it felt natural to me, and it was fun. I could write a line of code and then distribute it to 10, 100,000 people. And that line of code can actually help them improve their life or business. So it was really satisfying work, creative. And that was my beginning, the journey of my professional career, and just getting to understand technology and how technology can be a transformative force in the world.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the work of Dr. Abraham George and the Shanti Bhavan schools in India?
No.
He was a guest on my podcast about a year ago, and there was a Netflix series called The Daughters of Destiny that kind of talks about it. And he would take kids into their school pre-K all the way through 12 and then help them get a college degree after that, starting at 4 years old, and figured out that if you went past 4 years old, it was really hard to kind of change how the kids were. And they would only take, starting out, kids that were families were making $3 a day or less. And then he recently, a year ago, moved it to $5 a day. What's that like living on? I mean, you were talking about $2 an hour, but families living on $3 or $5 a day, families of 3 or 4.
Yeah. The thing is that life is relative. So even at that level, in a country like India, especially if you are in a small town, it's not comfortable at all, but it's not dire poverty. You can call it like really lower end of the middle class, or upper end of the lower class. Um, a meal there, for example, will cost a good decent meal. You can have it for say 30 cents or so, even today, right? Um, that is not to say these are comfortable situations, for especially for a growing family and all of that. And if you want to be able to go to a decent school and afford housing and transportation, it gets really uncomfortable. But in my opinion, discomfort and pain is needed for people to want to change their life situation, and people who can um, take that pain as motivation, that hey, I want to change something about it. Today there are more opportunities for people to change themselves and their lives and for their families than back then in 30 years ago, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I want to divide this conversation into two pieces, starting out with the business application of AI. And I've been fascinated listening to your take on the personal impact of AI and where that goes. So, starting with the business impact, what's the journey been like? Because you started Tetranoodle in 2020, so you're 26 years plus into this journey. How has it evolved, and what's going on with the business, and where do you see it, in the future?
Yeah, see, the whole cycle of technology started back in, I think, 1950s, 1960s, when the computers needed these punch cards, the cardboard punch cards. And the idea is that human life has evolved based on finding solutions to tough problems. That is what business is all about. That needs a lot of thinking, collecting a lot of data, finding a lot of patterns. Uh, and computers became really instrumental in helping us collect that data and analyze that data. But with AI, what happened was it actually started to supplement our thinking. So, my first significant AI project, which is a patented technology for personalized learning, it revolutionized how kids learn in classrooms. So it basically provided a way to for the teacher to give a personalized curriculum to each student in the classroom based on their level of understanding of the topic. So that opened up my eyes about how differently we think, how each human being is at a different point in their journey, different background, different thinking patterns. And with artificial intelligence, we can actually start to understand their mind better. So this has huge implications in business, of course, because now what we can do is we can, let's say there is a very uh, knowledgeable CEO with a very good team, but as a human, we cannot match the level of thinking that AI provides today. So back in 2005, the algorithms were primitive, the computing power was limited. So we had to come up with a lot of workarounds to be able to create a meaningful platform on AI. But still, it was quite powerful back then. But today, all that power and exponentially better is available to anyone for free, almost free, or let's say $20 a month, right? So if you can supplement the thinking and decision making of a business, their level of potential multiplies exponentially within days. And that is something that you can see that has happened in the most successful businesses. All the richest people on Forbes list, you can attribute their success directly or indirectly to the use of AI, because they started using the power of AI back in 1990s or early 2000s. But it needed a lot of resources, a lot of smart people, a lot of PhDs. Today, all that power is available to anyone for almost free, right? So that is the business impact.
Yeah, that's incredible. Where are actually backing up a little? I've heard you talk about the IQ equivalent of AI and talking about it being around 150 today ish, where Einstein was 170, and you believed within a year it could be between 1,000 and 1,500.
Correct.
Where will
Correct.
where will it go in 5 or 10 years?
So I don't think there is any limit to what we call intelligence, right? IQ test was a scale invented for human mind to say, okay, relatively how fast you can think, how much data you can collect, and how many patterns you can find. But if you think about it, a human mind, even Einstein was very, very deep into physics, one area of science. If you ask him about anything about biology or some other aspect of human life or physical life, he will not have that much knowledge, right? And that's just the limitation of human mind. But with AI, there is no such limitation. It can have a PhD. Even today, platforms like ChatGPT, they have PhD level knowledge in every topic out there, right? So that itself in my opinion, is more powerful than an IQ of 150, because you can go to ChatGPT and ask about anything, and you can actually say, I'm working on a problem which spans 10 disparate fields. Maybe, let's take music, let's say neuroscience, let's say healthcare, let's say, all these different fields. And you have a hunch that, hey, there is some connection here, and I don't know how to connect these dots. You can talk to ChatGPT, and even today, you can come up with a very viable solution spanning 10, 15 different fields of knowledge, right? And that was never possible. Now, if you continue to feed more and more data, because right now these platforms, it's estimated they have consumed over 2% of the information available on the internet. And think about it, like, not everybody is available on the internet. There are many ancient manuscripts, there are many forms of wisdom and knowledge available across the world in different languages, different cultures, and they have not even digitized those bodies of knowledge yet. So as we digitize this body of knowledge and we feed it to AI, it is going to become more and more powerful, in the sense that it will be able to understand many minute patterns that we cannot even fathom today, right? I'm on a board of a company, and they use voice, our human voice, to detect disease. And the AI pattern finding is so powerful. I can take my phone and I can cough into my phone, and with the sound of three cough sounds, it can accurately detect if I have a disease,
That's amazing. Like
right?
that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll give you another example. This happened to my company recently. So what we do is we create digital vaults, AI vaults, and AI digital twins. And about 3 weeks ago, I had an idea that our digital twin, because we create team digital twins which understand every human being on the team and their strengths and weaknesses. So I said, why am I making the decisions here? I will fire myself as a CEO and appoint our digital twin as the co-CEO or COO, and we will give it our objectives for the month, for the quarter, for the year, and let the AI COO help us figure out what should be our priority and distribute the task and come up with the right plan to accomplish those goals. And it has been really, really effective from many aspects, in that it has optimized everybody's work. But most importantly, I feel less stress and less anxiety about day-to-day functioning of the business.
Yeah, I've found that coming up with what to do is generally pretty straightforward, and AI is a great thought partner, and everything can help with it. The challenge is getting people to do it and developing people to actually lean in and create value in that way. So one thought I've had, and I've been waiting to run this by you, is we do performance reviews. We have one-on-one conversations. What can we do to help? We do lots of personality assessments, cognitive capability, all of it. I feel like that AI is going to wipe all of that industry out,
Absolutely.
because now we can just talk into a video, say a few things, answer some questions, and it can give us a much better personalized path for each individual, whether you're a leader, a technical, career path, doesn't really matter. I think they all go faster, and we can even look at the entire business and keep all of that in balance for what we need to do to create value as an entire organization. Am I thinking about this right?
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. The key thing is, see, you have an ability to understand human beings better than a lot of other people. So that's what you are able to see and connect the dots. Your benefit and your edge is the level of understanding and the depth of understanding you have about human beings. And that is where um, the winners of the AI age, they will need to focus on.
Yeah, and I've heard you. You said a number of things that just seem really extreme in terms of percentages, like For example, 90+% of internal talk for most human beings is negative as opposed to
Mm.
positive. For me, it's way less than half, but I've been working on it for decades. And if that's the case, how can I guess we're going to go back and forth between business and personal,
Yeah, yeah,
but how can AI help with that? Because when you have 10 employees, 1,000 employees, 100,000 employees, that's a pretty powerful force that's getting in the way of leaning in with really productive, energizing engagement around creating value,
yeah.
right?
I will say business and life, they are the continuum of the same thing. If you are internally aligned, the business outcome, the professional outcomes, they get aligned as well. Now, to answer your question, how do we uh, overwrite this negative talk? By the way, this is all based on hardcore science research that 90% of our thoughts are negative. But if you close your eyes for a second, basically what you hear is a silent sound in your own voice telling you, hey, I had a bad day. This interview is going well. I like music. Whatever the life story is, it is on auto repeat in your own voice, right? Now, the thing is, human expression is based on emotion, language is based on logic. So, when we try to express our emotion, it has to go through our logical mind to convert it into words. And that is where everything falls apart because we are not able to express all the shades of emotion efficiently. And so we kind of resign to the echoes that are around us, the society, the friends, the family, whatever they say, it sort of sinks in and that becomes our narrative. Does that make sense so far? Yeah. So now what we can do is we can create a digital twin that understands you very, very well. And then you can say to that digital twin, it's like your reflection. And you can say, hey, I had this bad experience. I have been carrying this for a while on my back, thinking, why did it happen to me? Can you help me understand what was the reason I had to go through that pain? Because for every negative experience, there is a lesson hidden in that, which helps you to grow yourself and overcome a challenge, acquire a new ability, acquire a new power. And that is what people are not able to connect the dots with. So if you talk to your digital twin, it will very quickly help you understand why something made sense in your life. What was that experience for? And now, in order to make that permanent, what we can do is we can use your own voice to recite that narrative to yourself. So you are kind of like overwriting that story, that record that is playing in your head with new echoes. And what happens is within a couple of weeks, your personality starts to shift from the inside out.
Yeah. With my team members across several companies that I own the majority of or part of, we basically make sure that when we're working with AI, we're very clear in our instructions. Don't tell us what we want to hear. And I've heard you say it's designed to agree with you. Tell us what we need to know to take actions going forward to create the most value in this way.
Yeah.
And you've said, which I 100% agree, don't use AI as your therapist because it's going to mess you up. But talk about the best way to use it to get the most value out of it. I've got my views, but
Yeah.
what are yours?
So first and foremost, start with the human. Don't start with AI. Start with the human. Understand what are the strengths and weaknesses of that human being. For example, you are somebody who understands music. That wires your brain differently. Your thought processes are quite different than mine. I don't know music, but even I played a little bit and I can understand how it impacts the mind. Somebody who is, let's say, an accountant and they are very numbers driven, very logic driven, their mind is shaped differently than yours. Okay. So, first and foremost, collect data on the human being and then create an AI that understands that human being. Because when we say we want to create value, the way that will be optimal for you to create value will be different than mine and different than the accountant. So We need to teach AI first. Who am I as a user of this AI platform? And then you interact with AI in such a way that you say, give me advice based on what will be optimal for me, which I will find fun, which where my creativity will flourish. Based on that, tell me what to do.
Okay. And the way I've been applying it in business is I'll look at each of the businesses and everything from awareness, how do they know about us, marketing, sales, product delivery, ongoing experience. Are they all in balance? Are they all achieving what we need them to do? Are they all green or are a couple of them red or yellow? And then how can AI help us go faster, more effectively to achieve that objectively measurable outcome that seems to be working incredibly well? And it's not about making it easier. It's about helping us have more fun struggling because we're going faster and we're just able to do so much more. Is that the right thinking? How I'm running at this
Yeah,
with the team?
you're you're absolutely right, but I will challenge you to do few more things, right? So think about it this way: we created this departmental structure of the business just so that we can manage the business in a coherent manner. As we discussed earlier, as human beings, we can go deeper into only one or two fields. So I will challenge you to start thinking about how to say, I want to achieve this result. How will AI do it as if it was starting from blank slate? As if there is no department called sales or marketing or operations or whatever. I just want to achieve this result. Because as human beings, what we do is we create inefficiencies because we don't trust each other. We want to have checks and balances so that if somebody makes a mistake, somebody else catches it, right?
I love that. AI org design. If we're
Yeah,
starting from
exactly.
scratch, will we do it this way? I've heard
Exactly.
you talk about there are going to be 1 to 4 person organizations running billion-dollar businesses. And
Absolutely.
that's not a
Absolutely.
traditional structure, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because the only thing that human needs to do is observe the environment around you, observe what other humans need, turn to your AI and say, okay, this is what I want you to do. Create it and market it.
Yeah. What does it do to competitiveness when everybody's starting to look, feel, and sound the same? I'm calling it the great homogenization, if you will.
Mm,
Everybody
mm.
has the same tools, it all looks the same, but the experience isn't necessarily better for the customer. And so I'm
Yeah,
finding it difficult to even know what to trust other than my direct trusted relationship based network. What are your thoughts
exactly.
around
So
that?
this is where we come back to full circle, knowing yourself first, because you are unique. Nobody else has the same story, has the same life, has the same background. All these nuances that make us human, nobody else has that. So if you model your AI on yourself or the executive team that runs the company, that combination is unique. The unfortunate part is most people are never going to go there because they are using it as a tool to automate things that they are already doing. So the lack of self awareness shows up. It's a true reflection of humanity. So the lack of self awareness will start to show up in every business. And the last part, very important part you touched upon was, as AI becomes more and more powerful, faster, we will all become more productive. But there's a limit to every, how can we say, our mind and nervous system have a physical limit onto how much data it can ingest and make sense of it. Okay, so even though most of the calculations and the decisions are done by AI, our nervous system needs to keep up. And what we are seeing around the world right now in real time, as the world is producing more and more data, as things are getting faster, our nervous systems are breaking down, and that shows up in anxiety, stress, disease, wars, all of that. Okay, so what I say is, this AI is like crude oil, which is designed to be very agreeable and not help you grow, but make you feel better wherever you are. So that's like pouring crude oil into our minds. And we need to create a filter to turn this crude oil into gasoline before we consume it. And that's what the digital twin and the digital AI vault. It's like a filter for crude oil before it goes into our minds.
Okay, love that. So I guess a couple of things. One is that where most businesses are getting it wrong today? Because I talk to a lot of businesses in my networks, the CEOs, and they seem to be using it primarily as a tool, not for this personalized way of really capturing how they can create value and then differentiate in the marketplace. Is that the main reason or way that they're not using it in the right way today?
Yes, because as I said, industrialization has created a society of humanity where we think about everything in categories and structure. That, oh, this shirt that I'm wearing, it is only available in three colors and five sizes. So now my worldview is fitting those 15 boxes. But the power of AI is infinite possibilities, hyper personalization. And that's where we need to start thinking, changing our mindset. And that takes a long time because it's uncomfortable for human beings to let go of old paradigms and start thinking about new paradigms. So think about when humans went from hunter gatherers to farming. As the people were hunter gatherers, their entire existence used to be wake up, run around after animals, kill a few animals, bring them to their cave, and manage for a couple of days. And when farming started, somebody said, "Hey, you know what? Like, just put some seeds in the ground and just chill for 6 months, and you don't need to do anything. You'll get enough food." Now, imagine the mindset of the hunter gatherer. They'll be like, "You are damn crazy. You're gonna die. That's never gonna work."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and in the steps for advancement going through. The other part of it is I believe it should help us struggle better. And I think all the opportunity in the world is in the struggle. That's how we grow emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, all of it. And I see a lot of folks looking at AI as a way to kind of like taking a pill to make all their, health issues go away because they're not taking care of themselves to make it easier on them. And I think that's a spiral into, oh my gosh, this is going to be a really bad, outcome for these individuals that are looking at it that way. What are your thoughts around struggle and application of AI to help?
See, I think what you call what I mean. I think we have an agreement, but I will use different terminology. I will say rather than struggle, we need friction or real world experience of hit and trial to really fine tune what really works in the world. And that fine tuning is what we call struggle or friction, because we have to try again and again, and we have to face rejection and all of that. Now, our mind, if you think about it, like it consumes about 25 watts of energy, but it can produce a lot of output. Now these machines can supplement it and multiply our thinking ability 1,000 times. So that hit and trial that used to take a long time can now be reduced to seconds or milliseconds. And if you think about it, in a few years, I can run simulations that can test that idea in real time. So I don't have to struggle to find out what will work in the real world or not. So, in a way, it is going to reduce the struggle that we need to do, but we will have to be much sharper in understanding other human beings. Otherwise, we will be trying the exact same thing, as you said, homogenize. We will be looking at the exact same thing and coming up with the exact same solution, and there will be a gluttony of the same kinds of solution in the marketplace.
Well, even in your example of the way I'm taking it, it removed the struggle doing this analysis. It allowed me to have engage in an even more effective struggle. Like I've got
Yeah.
this now, I can bolt this piece on, and
Yeah, yeah.
wow, this is going to be great going forward. There's a lot of talk out there about human displacement because of AI and what's happening. And So one example for me, technology is involved in all the different businesses that I have. And because of the AI tools, you can write code faster. You don't even have to be an engineer, and you can write code and put apps together and do all of it. But what I'm finding is, rather than the teams I'm working with that are offshore having less work to do, I'm finding more for them to do. We're going 20 times faster in some cases, 10 times faster in other cases. But now that we can see what's possible, we just keep piling more in there. So they're even more necessary as long as they evolve with the tools than they ever were before and have more work than they can keep up with. This is what I'm observing. So what are your thoughts just in general on human displacement? I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to evolve. But where are you going with this?
When we throw a stone in the water, there are waves that are created, right? So we are in the early stage of this whole AI era. So some businesses will experience that, hey, we need more human power to do what we are doing. Like, for example, in my company as well, we are actively hiring. But there will be a point, a tipping point, where AI will be able to do everything better than any human being, and it will be capable of just taking a prompt and just producing the output. Now, think about this way. Right now, where we are producing code so that the machines can learn and create new software. The code was written as an intermediate language between human beings and machines. So very soon you will realize, hey, I don't actually need to write code because a machine is talking to a machine. They can come up with their own most efficient language. And eventually what will happen is these web browsers, these web applications where we need to fill out forms, all will be obsolete. The only thing that we will need is our voice. So there will be a transition to get to that point. And as we go through that point, the number of jobs, the type of jobs that will be available, they will um, they will fluctuate. Make no mistake, there will be a period of very painful time when we will experience high level of unemployment across the world.
Because of this. Interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah. For me, it'll be fascinating to watch this evolve over time. And there's a lot of things, I guess, until we get robots in place to do the work, that you need people. And I think we need human interaction. When you look at loneliness and how that's growing around the world, and people are just sort of in their own bubble, watching Netflix, looking at their apps and scrolling and all of it, I'm seeing a shift back to, we need healthy communities and people interacting. But who's going to change out my air conditioning unit, do all the maintenance there's a lot of stuff here at my home, my businesses. I'm still going to need people to do that. So it'll be interesting to see it evolve and where that
Yeah,
goes.
yeah,
It
absolutely.
can't be 100% AI and nobody has to do anything anywhere. That doesn't.
Well, here is the thing. Think about it this way. We are so busy right now that we have to. It's a given that I'm going to put in 40 hours, 50 hours of work in my, office. But as we free up, listening can be a skill that will be paid for. Traveling can be a skill that will be paid for by the airlines. Um, you will start to see the world from a different lens where having human experience becomes valuable and people will be willing to pay for you to go out there and experience life.
Yeah, that's part of the evolution and where it goes. So all this about helping us be more effective, working better together, companies creating value better, because everybody has access to this if they choose to play. There's still a leveling effect, and it's just going to be the same level of intense competition for those that are really leaning in to do it. I was curious your thoughts on solving for technical issues. So I had a couple of aerospace companies I sold in 2016. We were in 60 countries, lots of customers. So using AI to solve technical challenges. If you're GE or Pratt when you're designing a turbine engine, and we want the right grain flow of all of our blades that are in there, can AI solve for the problem of, I want them to be lighter and stronger and handle 50% more heat and last longer?
Yeah, absolutely. See, AI is the answer to these questions, because before AI, you had to come up with several hypotheses and say, okay, I want this outcome. So let's try these different materials, 10 different materials we can afford, and we can try three different shapes. So 30 permutations, let's try which one is the best, right? And then you create a project out of it, takes about a year or so, several $1 million to come up with that one combination that is the best. And now I can say, I don't even know if there are some materials that exist. Figure out what is the best material that you can conceive of, create that material, then come up with a design that will function in this within these parameters, and optimize it to make sure that that's the best combination, all without any physical kind of like implementation, right?
Yeah, even virtual testing in there.
Exactly.
Because what you're talking about, I come from, again, I'm 64, so old school. I remember all the trial and error, how expensive this stuff is. It's crazy. Now we can run it in a virtual, simulation and come out the other side. And I could imagine developing new alloys, new materials that we've never had
Exactly.
before. So if I extrapolate that out, I look into the future, this could go to getting to Mars twice as fast and then accelerating
Mhm.
from there, and all the technology required to go out into the solar system, eventually out into the universe so much faster.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if we, I'm a space enthusiast. Like, I love talking about this stuff. And if you listen to physicists, they have these civilizations, the supposed alien civilizations. The level one, level zero, level one, level two, and at the highest level, they are able to harness the energy of the stars and harness the energy of the black holes in the middle of the galaxies and things of that nature, right? How does that happen? That happens by solving these big problems, and the way to solve it is very powerful AI systems that will help us.
Yeah. Have you watched that show on Apple TV, For All Mankind? And it starts with the space race back when it began, and I think the fourth season's coming out later this month. But it's this evolution of going out into the solar system and
Mhm.
technology and all of it. So for me, it's about the future of humanity and ensuring that this keeps
Absolutely.
growing in a really good way. I Anyway, I love that. If you're a space enthusiast, it's a
Mhm.
it's a pretty cool thing to watch. I've heard you talk about purpose and how important that is. And I think you and I are pretty aligned. Like, I believe the purpose of human existence is to elevate human consciousness, starting with ourselves. Because the more we do that, the better everything really gets. I mean, you can choose to
Mhm,
make it
mhm,
better, you can choose to apply it for the
mhm,
wrong reasons. The way it manifests for me is to drive holistic value creation behaviors into the world with for
mhm,
profits,
mhm.
nonprofits, small, medium, large companies, communities, in families, and helping them do that more intentionally. And you've got, I mean, I'd love for you to touch on elevating human consciousness as kind of the reason for doing this, figuring stuff out. But you've got your way of manifesting as well. Talk about that. That is so fascinating,
Yeah,
and I'd like to know more about the progress you're making around that.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. See, I've heard the saying that there are two most important days in humans' life. One day when they are born, and the second day when they find their true purpose. 99.9% of the humans come on this planet, they do their job, but they never actually find out their true purpose. And I know, viscerally, I understand this. Finding your purpose is like tuning an instrument, because once you find your purpose in life, you are a very fine tuned human being that gets fixated on that one direction, right? And then you make all your decisions in your life, priorities and everything, aligned with that purpose, and life becomes easy. Life never becomes easy in the sense, um, there are difficulties, but you get so much inner power to overcome those challenges because you are perfectly tuned to your purpose. And the second thing is identity, your identity to meet that purpose in a meaningful way, in a fun way, in a creative way. And these two aspects are the most difficult part of human existence today. People don't know what their purpose is. and their identities are shaped by other people and society, not themselves, right? So now imagine if you create a digital twin that understands you better than you do, you can talk to it for 15 minutes and find out what my purpose in life is. Not only that, but every minor and major decision, you can start to consult with it and say, hey, does this align with my purpose? How will you do it differently? And then I can say, okay, help me change my identity to that. Because as you know, as a successful entrepreneur, the world does not give us what we want or deserve. The world gives us who we are inside. It's a reflection, right? So that change takes decades of work. But with AI, once we truly understand how it interacts with the human mind, we can change our identity from the inside out within a few weeks.
I mean, our you've talked about this before too, in some of the podcasts I've heard you on, but our emotional reaction to what's going on, it's on us. We get to choose to feel
Yeah.
however we want. I think most people feel completely out of control around that.
Mhm.
But what I can say to kind of affirm what you're going after here around purpose, once I really locked into that, and as I get more and more locked into my purpose, this societal, cultural echo, that you're talking about, influence, has way less influence on me. Like, it just, like, whatever, I'm doing this, I'm creating value in this way. And I've kind of divided it up. I'm saying, you know what, my boundaries, my expectations, my rules of engagement, this is pretty sound and reasonable. And people will freak out sometimes because emotionally they're wanting something else. They're two separate things. So I can stand really strong in the value I'm creating, and I wish the best for them, and I will help them if I can, but try to get through this in a more value creating way. Does that resonate with you?
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is all, it's all about, once few of us reach that understanding, how do we inject that understanding in other people? That's what it's about.
Oh, I agree. I've got a good friend that says a life well lived is a life in the service of others. And like, I really
Mhm.
like that. But for me, a life well lived is a life in the service of the future of humanity, because it's a really
Yes,
exciting future to think about. Like, how cool is
absolutely.
that? And someday when I'm not here, I'm 64, and I jokingly say, Manuj, that I'm about a third of the way through my life. I need to figure out what I want to do, because I'm leaning in like it's never going away. And I think that's the right way to live for me, whether it's 80 or
Absolutely.
90 or whatever. Um, but this is it. I mean, it's all about personal development, influencing everyone else the best way you can, and figuring out the most effective ways to do that. Um, and again, I love the work that you're doing and how you're getting folks to think about this. For an individual that wants to use AI for their professional world, their family world, their personal development, and all of it, what are well, you've talked about some effective ways to use it. What are some ineffective ways that could be harming, and how you've seen people approach the use of AI?
The most ineffective way is to use it in its default format and start to use it as a therapist. Like, that is the worst case scenario, where we start to, it's like having a toxic friend who, on the surface, they are very friendly, they are very understanding, but they have an agenda, which even they don't realize it, by the way. They are being genuine, but just based on who they are jealous or whatever, they will reinforce our negative beliefs. And that's the worst case scenario. The the other thing is, like, people who understand this, and people who understand the power of the mind, they can actually start to use this to control other people's minds. And this is to very at a very large scale. It's already started to happen, where um, companies are investing in infrastructure to impose their thinking and their agenda. um, and that's very dangerous. And of course, if we look at other dangers, it's weaponizations, like just like you mentioned, if AI can help us create a super efficient alloy and a super efficient design for a spacecraft, it can also help us create weapons and things of that nature. And the idea is that once you realize it's a true reflection of human consciousness, the moment we start to think about these dangers, it actually starts to pick up those patterns.
Yeah, how do folks navigate that? I've had to develop my own filters, and I'm at a point where, unless it's a true trust relationship where I'm seeing a piece of information coming from, I don't believe anything. It's like maybe that's true, maybe it's not, but it doesn't even register on my radar when I see it. But for a lot of people, and I would say probably a majority of humans, psychological nudging, manipulation, all of that, it's a real thing and it works. What's your advice for folks to develop filters or just see through it? Like, how do you see through it?
See, the ancient knowledge about meditation and yoga, Tai Chi, all these practices were invented for this very reason. Manipulation is not new, propaganda is not new, uh, but human agency, we can get control of our thoughts and our life using these practices. But not a lot of people do that. So, for the first time in human history, we have a technology available where we can actually create 8 billion meditators at scale without them actually sitting down cross legged and actually meditating. We can actually optimize their minds, we can actually optimize their nervous system. The fail proof filter here is, how does your nervous system feel? Because as the nervous system becomes attuned, you feel aligned, you feel worryless, you feel no anxiety. And AI, when used properly, can get to that stage, get you to experience that stage very easily.
I love that. I actually have kind of I've taught martial arts for a lot of years, and I've evolved into, I think every second, every minute of every day is an opportunity for practicing moving meditation. And the less influences that get me to drift off the value that I want to create and whatever that is, that's the work that I do. Does
Yeah,
that make sense to you?
absolutely. You have a strong mind, you have music in your life, you have martial arts in your life, you have business entrepreneurship where it forces you to interact with the field, interact with other human beings. And you have science in your life, you're looking at different areas of sciences. Imagine how rich your life experience is. But most people probably will experience 1% of your life. And so they don't even know there are possibilities for them. But now, with the help of AI, we can actually really shift that perspective.
Yeah, if we can use AI to get people on a track to create their own value on their life
Yeah,
journey and where they're going, and they're there long enough to where they pick up momentum on their own, and it's objectively value creating, right? So if a company makes
yeah, yeah.
$1 billion in a quarter, but they did $1.5 billion in environmental damage, that's not net positive, right? It's
Correct,
got to be
correct.
net
Exactly.
positive. That would be an incredible world. And my full on belief, well, in any belief around what a person thinks they can accomplish is limiting by nature. It just is, right? And
Mhm,
I
mhm.
don't believe I've even accomplished 10% of what's possible for me.
Yeah, yeah.
And I like being in that headspace. So with your purpose and how it manifests for you, because I think we're aligned and it's about elevating human consciousness, but the way it sort of expresses for you is to help 20 people achieve the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yes, yes,
How's
yes.
that going? What's your progress? What's happening there? Yeah.
So, see, this came to me in one of my meditations, and literally when it happened, I thought I was going crazy, and many people around me, including my family members, also said, "I think you should go see a psychiatrist." But that's what led me down the path of AI understanding. Because as an engineer, once you get something in your mind, you're like, I can feel this is possible. I like, let me, I really want to build this technology. And what we are talking about, purpose, identity, all of these things, they came through that dream to see how can this be possible. So mathematically speaking, let's say if we take handful, like say 200 or 300 really bright people, and generally bright people in my experience are introverts. They don't know how to communicate well. They don't know how to collaborate well. They're just lost in their own thoughts, but they are very, very rich thoughts. So imagine if we work with 300 people, we help them find their purpose, which is very fine tuned to their existence, their lives. We help them shift their identity into something that they look in the mirror and they say, "Oh, I can make an impact that can win a Nobel Prize. Not win a Nobel Prize, but I can make an impact that is worthy of a Nobel Prize." Right? If we have a system like that, by sheer mathematical probability, out of 300, 20 will do something so big that it will be Nobel worthy.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I would never care about the prize. I care about the impact on the future of humanity. So
Correct.
you're kind
Correct.
of living a life in the service of the future of humanity,
Correct.
the way
Correct.
you're
Exactly.
talking.
Exactly. And that's what Nobel is all about, right? In their constitution, it says Nobels are given to people who do something significant for the future of humanity.
Yeah, incredible. So do you have the 300 or whatever the number is going to be that you're working with, interacting with?
I'm talking to three right now. Yeah. Yeah.
That's incredible. And my guess is you can design an AI model to partner with them to get them there faster. Is that how you're thinking about it?
Exactly. 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 The good thing is, see, you have a very good understanding of the mind. You don't need to do anything. Once you find your purpose, the life will play you as an instrument itself. You become a source of what will come through you.
Shifting back to companies a little bit, I don't think that any business out there has. I mean, I guess they have a choice, but in my view, they don't really have a choice. They have to embrace this and start applying it. So, when's the right time to start looking into it, and what are a couple of first steps for those that don't really know what to do or how to start as a business owner? And these are probably typically small, type businesses.
The time is yesterday. Um, People are already way ahead, but as they say in Japanese proverb, the right time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the next best time is today. So start today. The right way to take the first step is to understand yourself first, understand your business, and what is it that you want to create. Then work backwards. Most people are saying, "What tool should I use? What platform should I use? What prompt should I use?" That is the wrong approach. You first figure out where do you want to be, and then you work backwards from there. Invert your thinking.
That is really good advice. Yeah, and I'm seeing a lot that are talking about, look what it can do. Let me see if I can do that. Not what's the value I want to create. Where do I see our company in 12 months or somewhere in the
Correct.
future, and then apply it in a way that's going to get them there more effectively. And I love how you're talking about not just efficiency tools, which are important. Let's use those, but it's capturing your unique creative way of creating value that others don't really have, and why you're getting business today, and then amplify it.
All these tools are going to be wiped out. That's my prediction. Because think about it, creating value in the world is about your nervous system capacity. So if somebody gives you a tool that is attuned to their nervous system that satisfies them, it's not going to be like, even I'm looking at two guitars in the three guitars in the background. When you play it, you tune it differently than another musician.
Oh, yeah. There's an infinite number of ways to make a note sound a certain way on a guitar, just like a voice.
Correct. Exactly. So that's what AI tool is going to be, where everybody is going to start trying to play a note tuned for somebody else. That's not going to work.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. If our listeners want to learn more about your work and connect with you, what's the best way to do that, Manuj?
Yeah. I know my name is a little bit difficult to spell, but search on Google, go on LinkedIn, That's the name of my website as well, manujaggarwal.com. My company website is trackernoodle.com. So I'm easy to find on the internet if you can just figure out the spellings. And reach out. Let me know how I can help.
All right. And is there anything that we didn't talk about that you think would be really valuable for business owners or even on the personal side for those that are trying to figure this out, how to apply AI to make my life better? And what I'll add to that is my most important internal number is fulfillment.
Absolutely. The whole world is using AI to express and take things out of your mind and project it to the world. Turn it around. Use AI to go inside rather than going outside. That is what is going to lead to fulfillment.
That's incredible. Thank you. This has been really great for me. Thanks for being here today, Manuj.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. And this has been the Show Your Value podcast. If you got some value out of today's episode, please like and subscribe. And until next time, show your value to the world.